At 3:42 a.m., security guard Owen Mitchell finds an emergency exit door open on the 17th floor of the Federal Commerce Building in Washington, D.C., but the building is empty. He checked all 24 floors an hour ago. Security cameras show no one entering or leaving. He walks toward the open door and finds something on the floor that makes his heart stop: his own security badge, the exact one that's currently clipped to his belt. Same name, same photo, same serial number. Both real, both impossible. In 47 minutes, Owen will understand why. And in 47 minutes, if he doesn't evacuate the building, 200 people will die in an explosion that hasn't happened yet.
My name is Owen Mitchell. I'm 34 years old, former Marine Corps, now working private security at the Federal Commerce Building in downtown Washington, D.C. It's a 24-story government office building, mostly administrative departments, some research divisions, nothing exciting. I work the overnight shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., 4 nights a week. The pay is decent, the work is easy, and after 2 tours in Afghanistan, I appreciate boring. The building houses various federal agencies. Most floors are standard offices, cubicles, conference rooms, the usual. A few floors require higher security clearance, but as overnight security, my job isn't to know what happens there. My job is to make sure the building stays secure and empty after hours. Tonight started like any other Tuesday. I clocked in at 10:47 p.m., relieved the evening shift guard, and began my first patrol at 11:30 p.m. Standard protocol: walk every floor, check all emergency exits, verify all doors are locked, ensure no unauthorized persons remain in the building. Takes about 90 minutes to do a complete sweep of all 24 floors.
Everything was normal. Floors 1 through 16, empty offices, locked doors, no issues. Floor 17, I paused here because 17 always requires extra attention. It's listed as Federal Research Initiative, Restricted Access. I don't have clearance to enter the security areas, but I'm required to check the public corridors and emergency exits. I verified the main door was locked. It was. Checked the emergency exit at the east end of the floor, closed and secure, and moved on to floors 18 through 24. Completed the patrol at 1:03 a.m., logged it, grabbed coffee, settled in at the security desk in the lobby to monitor the camera feeds. The building has 127 cameras covering all public areas, stairwells, elevators, and exterior doors. I watched them in rotation, checking for any anomalies. At 3:42 a.m., camera 47, which monitors the east corridor of the 17th floor, showed something that made me sit up straight. The emergency exit door was open, wide open. The door I'd checked at 12:15 a.m. and confirmed was closed and locked. I pulled up the timestamp logs. The camera feed showed the door was closed at 12:15 when I walked past it. At 3:41 a.m., 1 minute ago, the feed showed the door was suddenly open. No transition, no person opening it. One frame it's closed, next frame it's open. Like someone edited the video, except this was live feed. I checked the other cameras. No one in the stairwells, no one in the elevators, no one entering or leaving the building. The exterior cameras showed all entrance points secured. Whatever opened that door, it wasn't a person I could see.
Protocol says investigate immediately. Report any anomalies. I grabbed my flashlight, radio, and headed for the elevator. The elevator ride to the 17th floor took 43 seconds, long enough for my mind to run through possibilities. Malfunction? Maybe the door latch failed? Someone still in the building I missed during patrol? Possible, but cameras would have caught them. Remote door release? The emergency exits don't have that feature. The elevator doors opened onto the 17th floor east corridor. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Everything looked normal except for the emergency exit door at the end of the hallway, open about 2 feet, showing the concrete stairwell beyond. I approached slowly, flashlight out, radio ready. Control, this is Mitchell.
On scene at 17th floor East emergency exit. Door is confirmed open. Investigating now. No response. I tried again. Static. My radio worked fine 10 minutes ago. Now, nothing. I reached the door, looked into the stairwell. Empty. No signs of forced entry, no damage to the lock mechanism. I examined the door frame. That's when I saw it. On the floor, just inside the stairwell, partially hidden in shadow, a security badge. I picked it up and my blood ran cold. The badge read, Owen Mitchell, Security Officer, Federal Commerce Building. The photo was my photo. The employee number was my number, S7849. The serial number stamped into the plastic was F20240847. I looked at the badge clipped to my belt. Same name, same photo, same employee number, S7849. Same serial number, F20240847. Two identical badges, both real. I could feel the microchip in both of them. These weren't photocopies or fakes. These were official, issued badges. I keyed my radio again. Still static. I pulled out my phone. No signal, which was impossible. The building had full cell coverage. I'd used my phone on this floor before. That's when I heard it. A sound from deeper in the stairwell. Footsteps. Coming up. Slow, deliberate footsteps on concrete stairs. I stepped back into the corridor, hand on my service weapon. I'm not armed with a gun, building policy, but I have a taser and pepper spray. I drew the taser. The footsteps stopped. Then a voice called up from the stairwell. "Don't go down there. You'll get stuck in the loop." Male voice, familiar. I moved to look down the stairwell. The voice called again. "I'm serious, Owen. Don't go down, and don't try to leave the floor yet. Just come to the main door, conference room B. I'll explain everything." The voice knew my name, and something about it was familiar in a way that made my skin crawl. The main door to the restricted section of the 17th floor was still locked, but as I approached it, the electronic lock clicked open. Someone inside was watching, had control of the systems. I entered cautiously. The restricted section was larger than I had imagined, a maze of corridors, labs, and conference rooms. The lights were on, and sitting at a table in conference room B, visible through the glass wall, was someone I recognized. Me. Not exactly me. Older, maybe 5 years older. Same face, but with more lines, gray showing in the hair at the temples. Wearing the same security uniform, but rumpled and stained. And he looked exhausted, the kind of tired that comes from fear, not just lack of sleep. I stopped in the doorway. He looked up. "Come in, Owen. We don't have much time." Well, that's not quite accurate. We have exactly 47 minutes, or you do, anyway. I've already lived through this part. "Who are you?" "I'm you, from 47 minutes in your future, it's complicated. Sit down, please." I didn't sit. This is some kind of joke. I wish it was. Look at my badge. He unclipped it from his belt and slid it across the table. Owen Mitchell, S7849, F20240847. Now look at yours. They're the same because we're the same person at different points in the same timeline. This floor, this facility, it's not a research office. It's a temporal research facility. They've been running experiments with localized time displacement, and tonight, something went wrong. That's impossible. You found 2 identical badges. Your radio doesn't work. Your phone has no signal. The emergency exit door opened by itself. Does that seem possible? He leaned forward. At 4:29 a.m., 36 minutes from now, one of the temporal devices in Lab 3 is going to malfunction. It will create a cascade temporal collapse. The resultant explosion will destroy floors 15 through 19 and kill everyone in the building and within a 100-meter radius. About 200 people total, counting the overnight workers in the adjacent buildings. If you're from the future, why didn't you stop it? Because I didn't know. I'm you from after it happened. I'm stuck in a 47-minute time loop. Every 47 minutes, I reset back to 3:42 a.m. I've lived through this night 17 times. Every time I try something different to prevent the explosion. Nothing works. The device is fail-safed. You can't shut it down without the override codes. And the only people who have those codes are the researchers, and they're not here. But this time, this iteration, I'm trying something new. Instead of trying to stop the device, I'm going to help you evacuate the building. I stared at him. At me. This is insane. It is, but it's also happening. Look, he pulled out his phone. The time read 3:54 a.m. He put it next to mine. My phone read 3:54 a.m. In exactly 2 minutes, you're going to try to leave this floor. The elevators won't work. The stairwell doors will be locked from the outside. Temporal field effect. You'll panic. You'll try to force the door. You'll waste 8 minutes before coming back here. Don't do that. We don't have 8 minutes to waste. I wanted to leave. Every instinct told me this was wrong, dangerous, impossible. But something made me stay. Maybe it was the exhaustion in my eyes. Maybe it was the fact that everything he said matched what I'd already experienced. Or maybe it was because deep down, I knew he was telling the truth. Show me, I said. Show me the lab. He led me through the corridors to Lab 3. Through the observation window, I can see it. A room filled with equipment I didn't understand. At the center, a large cylindrical device humming with a low, ominous frequency. Around it, smaller devices connected by cables and tubes, and on monitors, equations and readings that meant nothing to me.
Temporal displacement device Mark 7, he said. They've been testing localized time manipulation, moving small objects seconds or minutes forward or backward. Tonight's test was supposed to move a 5-kilogram weight exactly 30 seconds into the future. Instead, the device locked onto the entire building and created a 47-minute temporal loop anchored to this floor. And it's going to explode? At 4:29 a.m., the containment field will collapse. The resulting temporal spatial cascade will be catastrophic. I've watched it happen. His voice cracked. 17 times I've watched this building explode. 17 times I've died in that explosion. And 17 times I've woken up back at 3:42 a.m., standing in front of that open door, holding a badge I've already held. How do we stop it? We can't, but we can evacuate. The problem is, no one will believe you. I couldn't get anyone to listen in the previous loops. They think I'm crazy or drunk or having a breakdown. By the time they take me seriously, it's too late. He looked at me. But this time, there's 2 of us. You, from before the loop, with clearance and credentials they'll recognize, and me, with knowledge of what's coming. Together, we might actually convince them. Convince who? The building is empty. Not completely. There are always a few people here. Janitorial staff on floors 3 and 8, late-night accountants on floor 12, security guard at the loading dock, homeless man who sleeps in the basement boiler room and thinks no one knows about him. And in the building next door, there's a 24-hour call center with 140 people. We have to get them all out. I checked my watch. 4:01 a.m. We have 28 minutes. Then we'd better move fast. We split up. He, the future me, stayed on the 17th floor to monitor the device, watching for any changes in the timeline. I went to evacuate the building. First, I hit the fire alarm, building-wide evacuation protocol. Loud, impossible to ignore, and it gives people a reason to leave without asking questions. The alarm blared. I grabbed my radio, which suddenly worked again outside the 17th floor's temporal field, and contacted the other security guard at the loading dock.
Patterson, this is Mitchell. We have a situation. I need you to evacuate the building immediately and call it in to fire department. This is not a drill.
Patterson, the system shows no fire detected.
Trust me. Get out now and call it in.
While Patterson alerted emergency services, I ran through the floors, banging on doors, shouting, making sure everyone heard the alarm. The janitorial staff evacuated quickly. Fire drills are serious. The accountants on 12 were reluctant until I physically escorted them out. The homeless man in the basement took convincing, but I finally got him moving. The adjacent building's call center was harder. I had no authority there. But I called their security and reported a gas leak, a bomb threat, anything to get them evacuating. They hesitated. I pulled rank I didn't have, claimed federal authority I didn't possess, and threatened legal action if they didn't comply. It worked. They began evacuating. By 4:22 a.m., I'd cleared our building and the call center was emptying. Future me met me in the lobby. We did a final sweep together, checking every camera, every floor. The building was empty. We stood outside, watching as fire trucks and police arrived. 4:27 a.m., 2 minutes to go. Is everyone out? I asked. Everyone who can be, he said. Now we wait. What happens to you? If the building explodes and you're not in the loop anymore? I don't know. Maybe I cease to exist. Maybe I collapse back into you. Maybe I continue existing as a temporal paradox. Honestly, I stopped caring around iteration 12. I just wanted to save them. All of them. At 4:29 a.m., exactly as he predicted, the Federal Commerce Building shook. Windows on the 17th floor shattered outward. A pulse of energy, visible as a ripple in the air, expanded from the building. It wasn't a traditional explosion. It was something else. Reality bending, time collapsing, space warping. The 17th floor imploded, taking floors 16 and 18 with it. But everyone was out. No casualties, just a building with a massive hole in its center, and questions no one would be able to answer. I turned to ask future me what happens now, but he was gone. Just gone, like he'd never been there. The only proof he existed, 2 identical security badges in my pocket. The official story was a gas explosion, structural failure, tragic accident, but thankfully no fatalities thanks to quick-thinking security guard Owen Mitchell, who somehow knew to evacuate before the explosion occurred. I was questioned extensively. Federal investigators, building management, OSHA, everyone wanted to know how I knew. I told them the truth, or parts of it. I found an open emergency exit. I investigated. I felt something was wrong. I trusted my instincts and pulled the alarm. They called me a hero. They didn't need to know about the other me, the time loop, the temporal device. The 17th floor remains sealed. The official investigation concluded it was a structural failure combined with old gas lines. The real truth, that the federal government was conducting temporal experiments in a civilian building, was buried in classified reports I'll never see. I kept both badges. Sometimes I take them out and look at them, wondering if any of it really happened. But I know it did, because I remember things I shouldn't. I remember future me's exhaustion. I remember 17 iterations of the same night. Not my memories, his memories, but they're in my head somehow, like echoes of a life I didn't live but experienced anyway. I dream about the loops sometimes. In the dreams, I'm him. I'm older, more tired, watching the building explode over and over, unable to stop it, waking up at 3:42 a.m., finding the badge, running through the same halls, making the same mistakes, watching people die because I can't convince them in time.
But this timeline, our timeline, they lived, all of them, because somewhere in one of those 17 iterations, future me figured out that he couldn't do it alone. He needed help. He needed himself. I quit the security job after 3 weeks, couldn't stay in that building, couldn't walk past the 17th floor, even though there's no 17th floor anymore, just a gap where it used to be. I'm doing private investigation work now, better hours, less existential dread. Sometimes I wonder, did I really meet myself from the future? Or did the temporal field create a hallucination, a projection of my own knowledge and instincts? Does it matter? The result was the same. 200 people lived.
This story isn't really about time travel, though that's what happened. It's about the choices we make when we have information we shouldn't have. Future me lived through 17 iterations of the same disaster. 17 times he watched people die, and instead of giving up, instead of accepting the loop, he kept trying different approaches until he found one that worked. He couldn't prevent the explosion, but he could evacuate the building. He couldn't stop the device, but he could save the people. Sometimes the solution isn't changing what happens, it's changing who survives it. I think about that a lot. In my former life as a Marine, we lost people, friends, good soldiers, people who didn't deserve to die. I used to think if I could go back, if I could change one decision, warn them somehow, maybe they'd still be alive. But maybe that's not how it works. Maybe you can't change what happens. You can only change how you respond to it. Future me couldn't rewrite the timeline, but he could reach across it and give me information I needed, and that made all the difference. I still have both badges. Sometimes people ask why I carry 2 identical security badges. I tell them it's a long story. They laugh and don't push. They don't need to know about temporal loops and collapsed timelines. They just need to know that sometimes, impossibly, you get a second chance, or maybe a 17th chance. And what you do with that chance, that's what defines you. The Federal Commerce Building still stands, minus its 17th floor. They're rebuilding it now. Different layout, different purpose. No more temporal research, officially. I hope that's true. I really do. Because if it's not, if they're still experimenting with time somewhere in that building, then maybe someday someone else will find an open door, and they'll have to make the same choice, believe the impossible, or let it happen again. I hope they choose wisely, because time, I've learned, doesn't give many chances, but when it does, you better take them.
What do you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you liked this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more incredible true stories, and ring the bell so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.